topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steo and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Texas. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. For the last 16 years, we brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I have got an incredible show for you this morning. Several reasons. One is this is only our second show, but I looked at our first show's YouTube numbers, and I was blown away. They're usually a couple hundred for the first show. You really jumped into this show. We're going to be talking about mergers and acquisitions. And I got to tell you, the founder of the company, of Vant Group, is Alex Vantarakis. God, I hope I pronounced that right. What a trooper. Now, he says it's not surgery, but to me, anytime they cut on you, it is. Good morning, Alex.
Yeah. But yes, I'm back from surgery. I don't want to dwell on it, but for those of you that have sciatica that are delaying getting surgery on it, get it right away. It's been a blessing. Thank the Lord I'm able to walk again. I was like the hunchback in Notre Dame for about 10 weeks. But
well, I'm so glad you were able to make the show this morning. I have something to share with you and our audience. And I always do this. I always wait till the live show just to get a great reaction. So about 2 days after your show last month, we got a call from a Texas company who does mergers and acquisitions who actually listened to your show. And listen, usually when a competitor contacts us, they usually are very negative and, we're better and you should have us. He was so complimentary of you. I should say it was she. She was so complimentary of your show. She said the information that you were giving out was so right on. And that's an amazing I'm telling you, when your competitor calls and gives you good vibes, it's amazing, Alex.
That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. I really take pride in our work. I work for our clients, but my real boss is Jesus Christ. So,
amen.
That's why my work is so good, to be honest with you. And I love all my competitors. I know them all. I know everybody in the neighborhood.
I know. I remember somebody else who wanted the show, you knew who they were. But let's tell us about the Vant Group.
Amen. Vant Group's been around. This is its 27th year. I can't believe that. I bought and sold a business 28 years ago. And I love the process of buying, selling, hated owning it. So sold it and got into this industry. And now, we've done almost 1,000 deals. What sets us apart is we are direct, honest communicators of what a seller needs to know. We are extremely accurate in what we tell them. If we have a 97% valuation to sale price rate, meaning if we tell you it's worth $5 million, you're going to get $4.9 to $5 million consistently over the last 27 years. And that's very rare. And we sell them all. We've got over a 90% success rate, and we love it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we cover all of Texas, hands-on all of Texas, but also we work all across the country. So we've sold deals in New York and Ohio and all different states. So thank you for the plug.
It's amazing you said that, because we had somebody from New York who was visiting Actually, they were visiting in Houston and saw your show, and he wondered if you cover the New York area.
Yeah, absolutely do. Absolutely do. Would love to visit
Well,
too.
hey, let's get to it. First of all, we had another person that asked, if someone wants to buy or sell their business, do you handle both?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We help buyers anywhere from first-time buyers like myself 28 years ago to corporations that are looking to expand. We helped a large landscape company in Fort Worth expand by buying a company in Dallas. So yes, we work the gamut on the buy-sell side.
Nice. So I've got so many questions for you, and mainly because about 20 years ago, I sold my business. I tried to sell it myself, Alex. I'm sure you run into a lot of people like that. And
Absolutely.
what I found were I got a lot of tire kickers that wasted my time. I also had people calling, and my employees would answer the phone, and I wanted to keep this really on the hush hush, and they would find out. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you just get a business broker, someone who really understands the business?" And I got to tell you, it made all the difference in the world. The only thing is, Alex, is when it's your business, you think it's worth a lot more, but
Absolutely.
they kind of brought me down to earth.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the hardest part of our job. Really, the hardest part of our job is getting through and over the hurdle of seller expectation of value versus true value. Now, sometimes they match, and man, that's a glorious situation. And when they don't, it's just a conversation that you need to have. But when that happens, it makes the process a lot easier.
Okay, we're getting a lot of text in. I've got so many questions. I want to answer this one. A gentleman wants to know, he is in Fort Worth. He wants to know, how do you know when it's the right time to sell?
That is an excellent, excellent question. I wrote a book.
Marty in Fort Worth.
So 20 years or so, I wrote a book called Exit, A Business Owner's Guide to Selling a Company, which is a great guide. And actually, anybody who's on this call or viewing that wants a free PDF copy, email our man here and email me, and I'll send you a PDF version. But anyway, the first chapter, first paragraph says, first step in selling your business is being ready to sell. That is the first step, because if an owner is not ready to sell, financially, they're never going to sell. Meaning, let's say somebody makes $500,000 a year, okay, in EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, which basically means what a seller receives from the business between the business and other perks and benefits. And that business will be worth, let's say, $2 million. I'm just picking a number, right? Well, if I tell the seller that and they're not ready to sell, $2 million after taxes is $1.6 million. That's 3 times what I make every year. If a seller tells me, I can just work 3 more years and make the same amount of money, that person's not ready to sell. Let's get to the answering the specific question. How do you know when it's time to sell? When it's not fun anymore, when you need to make an investment to grow and you're not doing it because you don't want to take on the risk, when technology has passed your particular business and you're afraid that if you or somebody doesn't do something to take it to the next level, it'll go away. A great problem, you're growing extremely fast and you don't have enough working capital and you're afraid to sign on some more bank debt. And of course, health, other issues that are forcing you into a sale. But really, for everybody, it's different. For everybody, it's different. That's a great question.
Here's Jake in Austin. He wants to know, how do you know when you evaluate a business, what are the things that you look for?
That's a fantastic question. People that work with me and my clients always get frustrated because I never answer a question directly, because the answer is always, it depends. Because it truly does. And let me tell you why. When we determine a business valuation, it's 50% objective. Pretty much everybody will agree on the 50% of objectivity. What do I mean? Tax return numbers, financial statements, EBITDA, net income, things that are very tangible and you can point at. Well, then there's the 50% that's subjective about the business. Okay. How long have the employees been there? How long are the contracts? What is the reputation of the business? How important is the business to the owner? How much money does it take to grow the business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And where we really come in and are really good at valuing businesses is because we understand the 50% of the subjective. And that's because we've talked to buyers for 26 years and we know which part of the subjectives are extremely important to them. But to answer the question directly, it really all stems from EBITDA. The value of a business is always going to stem from EBITDA, always, always, always. All of the other factors will adjust that number up or down in terms of a multiple. So I used an example earlier, $500,000 in EBITDA, $2 million sale price. And I was able to say that very quickly because unless you have a magical patent or a special way of doing business in the small business arena, when you have $500,000 of cash flow, 4 is kind of a center point, and then it can go from 2 to 6, depending on a lot of other factors. And what are those factors? That's the subjective. What would make it increase? They have 10-year contracts that have escalating pricing in it, right? And they have recurring revenue, and they've built an amazing system. Well, then that will increase the value, right? What will decrease the value? Let's say you have a project-based business. You make $10 million a year, but you have to sell a project, $2 million projects, 5 of them every year. They're not repetitive. You have to go through a big bidding cycle. That's a lot riskier of a business. That would have less of a multiple. So that's kind of a top and a bottom on that answer.
Here's Norman in San Marcos. I just found your show on iHeart. I'm curious to know, do you work with people who want to buy a franchise? And my second question is, I see on the promotion you do mergers and acquisitions. What is the difference between mergers and acquisitions and hiring a business broker?
I couldn't have planted a better question if you had asked me to give you the question I would want somebody to ask.
We got great listeners and viewers.
Absolutely. Whatever that person's name is, first of all, shout out to San Marcos. My wife went to Texas State. I don't know what it's called now. And she spent quite a bit of time down there. So I have a soft spot in my heart for San Marcos. Speaking of franchises, do we help people with existing franchise purchases? Yes. Do we help people find a franchise concept to start? No, we do not. There are specific franchise brokers that you can talk to that do an excellent job because they will give you a plethora of different franchises that they represent, and then they'll help you based on your skill sets match it. The second question is an excellent question. Why do I say mergers and acquisition, but also we say business broker? What's the difference? In terms of function, they're exactly the same. Both functions help a business owner sell their company. Okay. What is the soft difference? A business broker normally works on smaller deals. Okay. The packages and the deals are not as smooth and professional as they could be because they're smaller and less sophisticated, mostly brokers and sellers at that time. Mergers and acquisitions basically just means a little bit of a larger deal, but also a much smoother, cleaner type process because it's more structured and organized. There's a subtle difference, but there's a reason we don't call ourselves business brokers. Nothing wrong with that term, but that has a very bad moniker because I'll give you an example. A typical business brokerage firm will take on 50 listings and hope eventually that they can sell half of them and really not set expectations properly with their sellers, but it's a numbers game. And there's nothing wrong with that. They sell a lot of businesses. M&A firms like ours do the opposite. We want to try to sell all of our deals. So we spend and invest a lot of time and resource to communicate and educate that seller on how a deal can be done. So those are kind of the differences.
I know, Alex, that having clean financials have got to be important. What is your thoughts on that?
Not having clean financials is like trying to sell a house and you don't know anything about it. You don't know how many bedrooms and bathrooms have and square feet and the zip code, and you want to put a value on that house to kind of break it down. The reason there's three primary reasons why you need excellent financials. One is perception. Everything about buying a business and selling a business, believe it or not, centers around trust and understanding of what the product is, right? You probably know many buyers that are very skeptical about buying a business. Well, if it was such a great business, why would he be selling? And they go in very skeptical, right? And they look for every possible reason to try to detract from value, okay? Well, financials, that's kind of your golden shield. The cleaner your financials are, the less perks and add backs. So basically, if you run a small business, there may be a gray line between a business and a personal expense, like a car and a cell phone and country club dues and things like that. And most business owners, they try to play that line because it helps with their taxes. Okay, everybody does it. The point is, if you have super clean and crisp financials, all of a sudden the perception of the buyer is, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't even run his personal cell phone through the business, and they're audited, and they're available as soon as I need them. Immediately that elevates the deal. That's number one. Number two, if you don't have clean financials and you can't prove your cash flow, it's very hard to get a high multiple sale price. And third, and most important, sellers that are listening, there are three people involved in every transaction: seller, buyer, banker. Without clean financials, you're not going to get a bank to finance the deal. Well, what happens if you can't get a bank to finance the deal? Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, you are now the bank, and you don't want to be put in that position. So clean financials are paramount.
This is from Greg in Amarillo, Texas. I'm enjoying your show. I want to know, do you specialize in a certain area of business, and what area of business are most popular to get into?
Absolutely. Shout out to Amarillo. I owned a business in Amarillo called Amarillo Carport Sales. It's a long story on how I got involved with that, but I've got a soft spot for Amarillo. See, I'm yapping and I forgot the question already. Repeat the question.
About what's a good bit? What area of business do you specialize in?
That's right. We don't specialize in a specific type of industry or type of business. Although with that said, we stay away from retail businesses. Gas station, car wash, laundromats, anything that's kind of a cash base. Those are kind of business broker deals.
What about restaurants?
Put restaurants on the side, because I'll answer his question directly and show you how restaurants fit in. For us, it's an EBITDA cash flow desirability. We don't care about the industry. We care about the cash flow. And if a business has 250,000 or more in EBITDA or cash flow, we will take it on. And restaurants, we have sold restaurants that have had that level of cash flow, because it's a different type of buyer. The smaller the restaurant, you're probably getting a one-man shop kind of buying it. That's probably a cook or a chef, which isn't our cup of tea, because that's usually cash-based. Ours is like a higher-end restaurant or a chain of restaurants. For example, we sold, I won't say who it is, but we sold a chain of chicken franchises. There were 5 of them together, and it was a $5 million deal, and the EBITDA was almost $1 million. So even though it was restaurants, when the EBITDA number is high enough, it's worthwhile. What services are most popular? It depends on what your risk tolerance is. There's two schools of there's two camps. There's the service-based camp and there's the asset-based camp. What do I mean by that? An asset-based camp, think of manufacturing facilities that have a lot of equipment and a lot of inventory and a lot of tangible assets. Okay, there's a slew of buyers that like that because they like to feel in touch with their buying. Okay, and those multiples in those businesses are very high, meaning if you have $1 million in a manufacturing business, you may get a 7, 8, or 9 multiple because it includes a lot of assets and equipment. Okay, and the pros is what I just mentioned. The con is if you want to grow, you need a lot of more assets and equipment. You have to invest a lot of money to grow in those businesses. Then there's the service business camp, which is what I like. Low assets, high cash flow, and a low multiple to get in. Think of a landscape company that does $1 million of EBITDA. That might sell for only 4 times. But if you want to grow that business, the cost to grow a business like that is very nominal. So those are the two different camps. But again, it all fits on personality, right? If you're an introverted person, you shouldn't buy a sales-oriented business, right? So you have to kind of match your personality to the business as well.
We got a couple minutes. This show goes by so fast. My last question is, with your company, evaluation approach, how does it differ from other companies?
That's an excellent question. So we call our product a business valuation assessment. What is assessment? How does that differentiate? We provide the same numerical information to provide you a final number of what your business is worth. Okay, that's what most people obtain when they buy a business valuation. What we do is we are all about educating our clients and educating the public. And the more information we give a client that wants to sell beyond the sale price, the better they'll be attuned to maximize their price down the road. So our assessment includes what's called a saleability score. So basically we look at how financeable is it, how easy can it be transitioned, and 4 or 5 other factors, and we come up with a score for them. Well, within that score, it tells them these are all the things that are adding to your value, and these are all the things that are detracting from your value. And that report to me is much more valuable than the actual valuation, because if they follow our advice, they'll maximize their value. And I'll squeeze this in before we get off. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a gentleman that came in and he wanted to sell an auto repair shop, and it was worth $800,000. And he was working with Dwayne Evans, one of our excellent managing directors. And the seller said, I want more money. Dwayne laid out a plan for him. Here you go. Come back in a year. He came back in a year. It was worth $1.2 million. The seller said, wow, that was pretty cool. Let's do that again. Gave him another list. Long story short, 4 years later, I think, they sold it for $2.2 million. And all he did was follow exactly the plan that Dwayne gave. And what was that plan? Just to let you know, it's all of the things that buyers tell us they're looking for in a business. So what we do is we take all of the knowledge from the buyers. And when we talk to our sellers, it's not us telling them, it's the buyers telling them. And that's a big thing that sets us apart.
Alex, we've been giving out your phone number and your website address to all the people who texted us, but tell people how they can reach you.
Absolutely. The website, the name of the company is The Vant Group, and the website is www.thevantgroup.com. I am at alex@thevantgroup.com. And frankly, I love talking to people about deals. My cell phone's 972-742-2220. Feel free to call me anytime.
And I just found out during our show we're both believers. God bless you, bro.
Amen. Next time Alex, we'll talk about Jesus more.
Yes. Hey, Alex will be back again with us next month. You can, if you missed part of the show, you can go to iHeart or Spotify under Ask the Experts. mergers and acquisitions. And Alex, thank you so much. Hey, continue getting well. Godspeed.
Amen. Bless you all. Thank you.
That's the Vant Group. They're amazing, folks. If you know someone, if you're trying to sell or buy a business, they're the people to do it. Hey, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back in with you next week with more Ask the Expert.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.